Okay,
Is that? Yeah.
I'd like to welcome everyone this afternoon. And I'd like to call this afternoon's meeting of the Orange County Transportation Council Planning Committee meeting to order. Start off with introductions, first in-person roll call. I'll start off, Alan Sorensen, Planning Director for Orange County.
Stacey Butler, Deputy Commissioner for Orange Planning.
Scott Manley, Town Newburgh.
Denise Quinn, Town of Liliano.
Essie Dwyer, Town Work. Value City, Joel Tom. Jason Morris, City Neighborhood.
Tony Damasco, New York State.
Nicole Farmer, New York State DOT.
Lois Sandra Jobson, New York State DOT.
Herb Litz, Green Peterson Incorporated.
Barry Cheney, Orange County Legislature, Chair of Fiscal Services.
Jim Woody, Town of Newburgh.
Bert Thielander, Pathways Committee, Vision Hudson Valley.
Deanna Crawford, Orange County Parks Deputy Commissioner.
Rob Harrington, Senior Transit Planner, Orange County Planning.
Mike Torelli, Office of the County Executive.
John Morrow, Orange County Transportation Council.
John, if you'll please do the on-call participant roll call.
Sure. If anyone has multiple attendees in one room that need to be identified, please let me know. Otherwise, please confirm your full name and affiliation as I read through the online attendees. Naomi Klein.
Confirmed, I'm with Creighton Manning.
Thank you. Gautam.
Yes, hi, John. Got money, FHWA New York Division.
Alice.
Elise Brady with Nimtech.
Thank you, Elise. Andy.
Andy Booter with MTA Metro North.
Nancy.
Nancy Zhou with New York State Thruway.
Nancy. Olu. Oh, sorry, Olu, you might be muted.
Olu was also with the MTA, I'm not sure.
Okay. Moisha.
Moisha Gruber, Village of Kirishuel.
Thanks, Moisha. Dan Burkowski.
Hi, Dan Burkowski, LaBella Associates.
All right, thanks, Dan. Let me see. All right, Alan, I think that might be everyone.
All right, John, thank you. Next, we'll move on to call for citizen participation. Do any members of the public wish to provide commentary to the planning committee?
I have comments related to the policy board meeting. Should I wait until that agenda starts or should I make public comments now with the planning committee? Most of what I want to talk about is part of the policy board meeting.
That's up to you, Bert. We're still waiting for a quorum for the policy board. So if we don't have a quorum, we may have to push the policy board back, meeting back one.
And I'll go ahead.
Sure.
Okay. So one comment, the Orange County Executive and the Orange County Legislature is promoting open space. And there in this flyer that was sent out a while ago, they talked about the value of the bikeway vision and the different components of the bikeway vision. And I wanted to comment on the draft 2026-2030 Transportation Improvement Plan, the resolution. I really want to ask you to continue to support non-motorized transportation options. And one reason for that is safety. If we promote non-motorized transportation options like the Heritage Trail, public safety will really be improved. And also health and positive economic impacts will take place with that. And I also wanted to comment on the public participation plan. That is one of the resolutions. We really appreciate your efforts to get feedback from public entities like myself, and we really urge you to continue to do that. And then there was in the one of the agendas, there was a memorandum of understanding regarding the Mid-Hudson Valley Transportation Management Area. Pathways Committee has been establishing communication collaboration with the Ulster County Transportation Committee. We've been going to their monthly meetings, so their mission is similar to ours in terms of non-motorized transportation options in their county. And I think it would be important to have us, OCTC, communicate with them on a regular basis. And then my last comment was regarding the Transportation Improvement Plan Amendment, OCTC 2311. I live in Cutterbackville, New York. I drive on Route 209 between Deer Park and Port Jervis 4 or 5 times a week. That road is in serious need of repaving, so I really urge you to support passage of that 23-11 amendment. And thank you very much.
Bert, thank you. John, can you ask if there's anyone online who wish to provide comments?
Sure. For any of our online attendees, would anyone like to provide comments or questions?
Okay. Hearing none, we're gonna move on. I'd like to ask for the approval of the meeting minutes. They were previously distributed and included in the material packets. If there are no objections, I'd like to ask for a motion for approval of the minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Scott, second?
Second.
Hey, Jason? All those in favor? Everyone saying aye? Anyone opposed? Okay, minutes carried. Gonna go on to communications and announcements. We provided information on the DOT Safe Roads Program. I'm gonna ask Stacy to cover this for us.
Sure, this, basically, this is a recently announced program. It's a relatively short timeline, but it's something that NISBAT is going to actually be handling. On behalf of the MPOs, they're looking for areas where there can be safety improvements. Through each state DOT has been directed to submit areas for projects that will be finished by the end of 2026. So they're in the process of identifying those, and those will be submitted to USDA. And there's a link there if anyone wants to find out more about the program. And for the rest of these communications and announcements, with Duchess, I think, actually does some regular links in their agendas that would be useful for our folks to have as well. The USDOT Navigator has a lot of great information on how to apply for grants, and then the USDOT federal grant opportunities, user-friendly searchable directory that you can, grants for all sorts of modalities of transportation. And then we also just added 2 of the more recent letters from USDOT regarding compliance issues, and a link to where you can find all the federal executive orders. If you have projects that have any sort of federal funding through USDOT, would behoove the municipality and your legal counsel to stay up to date on those.
Very good. Thank you. I was multitasking and sending a message out to the mayor of Middletown, see if they, but we can't get a representative or use a proxy for something.
Short one.
Yes. Okay, next we'll go on to reports and actions on old business. And I'm gonna ask Stacy to provide OCTC staff reports.
John and I have been mainly focused on the final preparation of the TIP, the revisions to the operating procedures and the public participation plan, receiving the public comments, summarizing those. And we're going to discuss those a bit further under old business this meeting. And then for the October 23rd OCTC meeting, we're hoping to have the Title VI policy updates and proposed TIP project selection framework for the planning policies to review. We've also been working with the partner MPOs, UCTC and DCTC to prepare. Actually, we're updating our congestion management process. John's been involved with that. Will be shortly, and then we've also been preparing for the recertification of the TMA, which will have review meetings are tentatively scheduled in the week of September 22nd through October 3rd. And I'd like to give the floor to Gautam Mani to see, he was gonna explain a little bit about opportunities for input.
Yeah, yep. Thanks, Stacy. Yep. And yeah, I think you covered the certification very well. We will be. This is a required process that takes place every 4 years for MPOs representing areas with a population of 200,000 or greater, and the 3 MPOs combined into a TMA do meet that threshold. So. I don't know how many in the room have been a part of past certifications, but we generally is composed of a site visit and as well as a desk review of the planning products of the MPO, and so we'll be doing sort of a hybrid approach to the site visit this time with an in-person component where we'll discuss issues pertinent to the full TMA, and then with each of the 3 MPOs, we'll be doing an individual session virtually. But I want to take this opportunity to emphasize that the members, you really are the MPO here. You are the decision making body, and so this is not just a review of staff and the work products they create, but it's a review of the transportation planning process overall, and staff are part of that, but the members play a critical role in that process as well. So all that's to say, we strongly encourage member participation throughout. You're welcome and encouraged to attend any or all of the sessions, either virtually or for the in-person component, which will be in Newburgh, thanks to Stacy's efforts to secure a facility. But we're also willing to schedule a separate session with a planning and policy committee and board members to get your feedback on how the transportation planning process is going. I know we've done that in the past, and I leave that to the discretion of the members if it's something you would find valuable. And this can be feedback on things that are going well and areas for improvement. Also, we want to hear any feedback that you have. So, thank you.
At this time, actually personally saddened, but happy for John. I'd like to announce that John Morrow will be leaving the Orange County Planning Department to pursue other opportunities. Want to thank John for his service to the Planning Department and OCTC, and wish him well in his future endeavors. Among various other activities, John made extensive updates to the OCTC website. So if you haven't perused our website recently, I encourage you to do so. And those will be published shortly. I perused them. So, and then we hope that this will provide a more user-friendly experience for OCTC members and the public to access the information. It is a vast improvement to what we had in place. Make it much, again, easier for the public to quickly, reach the resources like the long-range transportation plan, the TIP, and just better inform the public about the activities at those. So, John, thank you for your service, and wish you all the best in the future endeavors. On to other member reports. Do any members wish to provide reports to the planning committee?
Who would be taking John's place?
We're advertising, so we don't have anyone in-house to replace John. In fact, we're quite short-staffed. So we're advertising, so if you know anyone who's interested, send their resumes our way. All right. we're gonna move on to actions on. New business. Oh, no, that's for other member reports. Anyone else have anything to add? No, okay. Okay, so actions on old business. Stacy, discussion of public comments. You see.
So, we had 3 draft amendments for the previous tip. These are OCTC 2311, 2312, and 2313. No public comments were received on those. We also had the tip out, the 2026 through 2030 tip out for public comment. We received 6 comments total on that. They summarized, and responses are in appendix F to the draft tip that went out that is today, hopefully. I can just touch on some of the comments. We had one regarding the funding of the Newburgh Ferry, and long-term opportunities for maritime transportation. That there's currently funding for the ferry in the tip. There's also plans for the Newburgh landing docks that the city of Newburgh is engaging in, so that the city website would have more information on that. The village of Curious Joel, town of Palm Tree, noted that they had the highest and most dense population in the county, and they were requesting permanent voting member status. That's something that will have to change in the operating procedures before it can be changed in the tip. Touch on that later. There was another comment about a particular intersection that County Route 105, County Route 64, Bakertown Road be added to the locating congestion list that's in the tip. That's something that original list that's in the existing tip, previous and the one we're about to adopt, was part of the TMA wide macro level screening with the last congestion process. We're in the process of updating that now. So once that's complete, then that list overall will get updated. What else? There was comments on the listing of transit bus needs specific to municipalities in the tip. We typically don't list the specific operators because all the buses that we purchase through Transit Orange, which is the designated recipient through FTA, the buses belong to Transit Orange, and we lease them to the operators as needed basis. And then we also received a first comment on the Route 209 repaving request. So those are all the public comments that we received on the tip. We also had a draft of the air quality conformity determination, which also includes the Poughkeepsie ozone determination. There were no public comments received on that. We had the draft operating procedures out. We did receive 7 public comments. There was a comment on whether the functional classification of roads should be addressed in the operating procedures. The MPO staff is recommending that we actually put something on the OCTC website, because the process is really dictated by FHWA and NISDOT. So if they make any changes, it'll be much easier to change that quickly on our website. The village of Curacao, town of Palm Tree, made the comment about the highest and most dense population. And we had in February, I believe, the planning committee did some presentation on possible rearrangement of the voting membership for consideration, among other things, with updating the OCTC operating procedures. And at that time, the planning committee decided that we would just make a lot of the housekeeping amendments that are currently in the pack today, the version of the operating procedures that we will be voting on. And then at a later date, we would be discussing the voting membership. We would still recommend, based on what other MPOs do, it's either population base or the fact that it's city, a town, village, or all members. Although the latter would probably be unwieldy, the number of municipalities in Orange County. There was a similar comment about the 3 areas, the sub areas for voting membership and the representation, because it's not split in a number of municipalities in each area, given that each area has 2 voting members and an alternate. For instance, there's 19 villages, which is one grouping, and then one area has 4 towns, one has 8, one has 9. So that may be something that the planning committee also wants to revisit. We've also discovered there's a 1982 NPO designation documents. There's letters, correspondence from the governor and FHWA at the time, as well as some memoranda. That seems to explain some of the structure of the current operating procedures, but our staff has to research whether there were intervening agreements, documentation in the meantime, so we'd like to do that before we bring this to the committee. We actually have county health department staff in some of the rooms where we have the materials, so they should be gone hopefully by the end of August. Any luck, so then we can get back into that research. What else? There was another similar comment about the 19 villages and the sub areas. And just generally the representation, not taking into consideration the population of the census and suggestion for use of a weighted voting system. There was some discussion about that with regard to roads, bridges, things like that. Possibility that the planning committee could consider, I think that make it a little bit complex in terms of who has jurisdiction and maintenance over which roads, how those are counted. But again, we'll put together, after we do the research on the 1982 documentation, we'll put together some more options. What else? There was a comment that the voting members of the MTA and the Thruway Authority almost never attend meetings, and the suggestion that they be the non-voting members. And while they're not attending meetings because they can't vote online, that's just another issue for consideration. Even in the new version of the operating procedures, we still need in-person quorum. And again, that's another item we'll bring up when staff is ready to present this issue to the funding committee again. What else? Oh, the final comment was about remedies of enforcement against towns and villages for non-attendance. We're not quite sure how that was generated. We suspect because there are groupings that only 2 entities are representing, it's more critical that they show up, and if they don't, that they're replaced. Because if they fail to show up, they're penalizing several entities, whereas certain single agency members don't show up at their agency. But we agree that needing a replacement, if they consistently don't show, is something that should probably be applicable to everyone, so that's something as well. And then finally, the public participation plan, we received no public comments.
Stacy, excellent.
Sorry, it was.
Any questions?
Can I just make one recommendation?
Yes.
Requesting an RSVP for the meetings. Like, just when you send out the notice that we're having a meeting, ask the members to say whether or not they're going to attend. You'll have an advance notice whether or not you'll have a quorum, and you can start working on getting the policies or whatever you know, before the meeting.
Absolutely.
Like, I'll respond if I can't be here or can't be here. I'm sure everybody else will.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. We had 2 last minute cancellations, so.
Yeah, there's nothing you can really do about that, but
All right, I'm gonna move on to new business, but before I do that, after the next planning committee meeting, I am gonna try to make one last appeal with a phone call to the city of Middletown, see if I can get either the mayor or rep come over. They're only about 10 minutes away, so.
And so can you still appoint someone? Like we have people here and they become appointees of the mayor? This
It
meeting,
has to be someone,
the mayor writes an email having,
Should be an
Legislature.
employer official of the,
doesn't need to be a proxy, is a proxy.
under the.
Our guidelines, our bylaws don't allow it.
Does it specifically say they must be a member from that municipality
Or, or
right
their
here.
consultant.
or their?
We all have it right here.
The new one allows, consultants as well as, having socially for that, municipality or agency.
In Ulster County, it has to be formally done in writing.
That's what
You
this should
can't
be
pick
too.
somebody or send an email. The proxy has to be in writing.
Yeah.
But it could be for one meeting, so if he sends a proxy for what this meeting, then we have a quorum. Because you have some deadlines that you want to meet today.
well, They do, data yes.
As far as what's going on. If not, you can wait with the tip for October and then we're in the next fiscal year and all that.
No, we have to, everything from each other's for a policy.
Or we make arrangements for a proxy, not.
That's right.
Yeah.
Can you
Look
up,
Why don't you tell them
Mary
who's here?
Stephan's number or? you-
Sure that
or you
one of
send
the
message
people
to
sitting there
the-
can become a proxy for this one meeting.
Yeah. See if you,
I was also just thinking.
So we don't have it in writing.
City middle ground.
We
That's
can
We
email.
do, we
Yeah.
certify email.
Sometimes that's the proxy.
Jacob, they always say, or they hit their staff member, or it could be anything. Except for the send.
You have the rules
Yeah.
right here.
Oh, these are boxes.
I didn't look it up.
Yeah,
It's
maybe
there.
reach out then.
But you should have this way.
They said the present one states
saying-
it has to be someone from the municipality or their consultant.
So here's what we're gonna do. I've asked John to send a message to my executive assistant to contact the mayor and ask if he can designate a proxy. And send someone over. It doesn't have to be Jacob, so it could be community development director or just another staff member, it could be a police commissioner, I really don't care.
Maybe the mayor would like to come.
Well, that's the first invitation. So we'll see where that goes. I mean, I don't, because they're the last member that is within, I'll just say 20 minutes, practically able to get here.
Again, unless you could find in the current operating procedure, permission to appoint some of the people sitting here.
It's not.
Not,
It's not in the current. We can accept an email for the proxy, we just need someone from Middletown, which again, I just came to Middletown, it's only 10 minutes away. But I don't wanna belabor that, we'll move on, with the board's permission to new business. I'm gonna ask Stacy Rowley the, Medicine Valley TMA resolution.
That's actually, it's my fault, there's a typo there, it should be the MOU. This is a memorandum of understanding that the current copy dates back to 2006. Actually refers to UC or DCTC as the Dixie Duchess Transportation Council. So we needed to update names, there was some references to like the transportation bill, regulations, statutes, 2020 census population count, things like that were updated in this MOU. So all three MPOs would pass it before it becomes official, and then we're gonna update it again at 2030. So I don't know if anyone has comments, questions, concerns on that.
Want to continue?
Over. There's also, this came out very recently, unfortunately, the USDOT has issued a request for information for comments on the upcoming transportation bill and the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, which is the national organization representing MPOs, has created a sort of template letter if MPOs as a whole wish to send in comments. They provided that to us. Also, any individual entity, agency is also allowed to submit their own comments if they like. There was a link to the RFI itself in the agenda, and then there's a draft letter. And the letter itself has 4 themes that they suggest that the MPOs are commenting on. One is enhancing transportation safety. which has language regarding empowering MPOs to advance safety outcomes and strengthening the regional and local role in bridge safety and asset management. The second theme is accelerating project delivery with modernizing funding mechanisms for effective regional delivery, allowing for carryover of federal funds for multi-year projects, streamlining environmental review and permitting certain local and regional projects, or environmental review and permitting for certain regional and local projects. Theme 3 was increasing opportunities through investment in transportation infrastructure, and that's to increase planning funds to meet federal planning requirements. This is the PL funds in our UPWP remain below 1% of the total dollars. And they suggest that MPO staff consultant activities require sophisticated modeling, public engagement, and interagency coordination. So the AMPO is advocating for an increase in the total amount of PL funds for the MPOs. And then also reducing local match for federal transportation programs, shifting discretionary funding to formula funding, and then establishing dedicated formula funding for rural transportation planning. And then the last theme 4 is strengthening partnerships with states and other key stakeholders. And that's strengthening the requirements for state coordination with the MPOs through all phases of planning and programming, and recognizing the local governments as co-owners of the national transportation system with the authority to lead regional investment decisions. So there is, I don't know if people have a chance to look at the letter. I don't know if that's something that's linked. We basically just wanted to gauge interest. If folks here were, fortunately, comments are due by August 20th. So if the MPO would like to send in a letter, we need to do it sooner rather than later. So we just wanted to gauge interest if you wanted to direct staff to submit.
It's your advantage if we do.
It's just general support. And hopefully, MPOs, how much sway they'll have over transportation bill contents, but it probably couldn't hurt.
It kind of hurt. I think we should, probably make a motion for that.
Well, we're still in the planning committee, but.
Yeah, well.
That's what I was wondering,
You know, I
yeah.
don't think we need a, I don't think we need a
I know.
motion. Just, if there's consensus, just direct this.
Yeah, I would think.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
What else? I think that covered that. I'm gonna move on to our next item.
Yes.
And this is, we're probably just gonna touch on it a little bit, because the process is somewhat involved, although probably not as complex as it might seem at first glance. The Village of Parish Joel has requested that certain roads in that vicinity be reclassified and functional classification be changed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of 8 roads be upgraded from FC19 local roads to FC17 urban collectors, which would make them eligible for funding. We have that somewhere. That, yeah, I don't know if that is what the roads would look like if they were reclassified, and that one at the top, which runs kind of near Gonzaga Park, that would be the reverse. It would change from FC 17 to FC 19, and would no longer be eligible for federal funding, but this reflects more of the actual how the roads are traversed in the area, and there's some little discontinuities on certain of the roads where it doesn't connect with functional classifications. So that was another issue, but because these.
May I explain
Sure.
some of the map? Need to stand up, just point on the map. So the current classifications existing are the dark lines. those are classifications, as you said, 17
17
it's
is
17.
the,
is the federal.
is the federal.
Yes, so those are the green. We came across this is Forest Road, running all the way up to here. We came across on Forest Road that there's a missing a little piece from here to here. And we're redoing Forest Road, and it makes no sense. This is like just 1,000 feet missing link that's differently classified. No reason, it's all part of the same road, same Forest Road, and it should be connected. The green should be connected. So we started out looking on the classification and the process. And then we came up that there is a county road, which the two X's are up there. That's part of, used to be Orange County Route 44. That road is not in use anymore because it crosses through into Gonzaga property. And the current use of the road is actually where it shows 8 and 3. That's how County Route 44 is considered, right now, but where it says number 1, that's a closed road, completely closed, not even travelable for anybody, not even getting into the park, so it's completely shut. We started seeing multiple areas that need modification, including another Skyhook Road, which is a connector road, number 6. And the same is with Acres. This is Acres Road green, but Acres Road to here is not green. So this is County Route 105. Acres Road runs from County Route 105 all the way to Forest. There's a missing link right here. Again, the same as Bakertown Road. Bakertown Road runs all the way to County Route 44, but only half of Bakertown is classified. So we submitted the package for reclassification of these roads, and we were told that the committee has to look at it first. There's some areas that is more urgent for the village right now. Forest Road, for example, this missing link, we're in the process of rebuilding Forest Road, and the different classifications hindering the process. So Forest Road up to here could be funded, and from here it could be funded, and leaving a piece with the current configuration in the shape it's now doesn't make any sense. So we submitted this map for consideration, and that's what the committee is doing right now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that explanation.
Yeah,
So what is the difference between an F-17 and an F-19 road?
federal funding eligible. And the other issue with the roads, because some of them under.
There's also, other than federal funding, there's also differences. For example, being on a federal map, so truckers and travelers know what's a connector road and what's a local road.
Yeah.
Big differences between connector roads and local roads. And the idea of this classification is to have collector roads classified separately than local roads, and that's what this process is.
Well, I was just wondering if like it was a like account for how many vehicles go on the roads.
It's more if it's used to get from
That's
one
fine.
point to another as a cross by instead of just going to that street because I need to be on that street. But I really want as it's what's the definition of collector roads?
Well, your local road is designed to carry traffic specifically for the either residential uses or businesses along that local road. And then when you have a collector, the collector is transporting traffic from local roads into a collector, and then it's meant to carry traffic, less interruptions over a longer distance, which you can actually see from the map up there. So that's why county roads typically higher functional classification. And then you get from the urban collectors, you get into arterials and expressways, kind of the classification.
It also helps really guide how to design the roadway too. It's really critical for that. So when you know, when you start changing the functional classification. The reason there's so many steps involved is because you can't be doing it arbitrarily. It really, the roadway geometrics really need to then match with the functional classification. So it's about usage, it's about the cross section, it's about the roadside development. So that's why there's so many steps in looking at it.
Yeah.
And then doing the analysis and most importantly, attaching the supporting materials.
Term's gonna get it.
I like to sometimes use it, many people are kind of more familiar with building codes, right? You've had your house remodeled or you do different stuff. And there's like safety standards associated with different levels of buildings. A residential building is gonna have a lot less requirements than a skyscraper. That's another way of viewing roadway classifications. Every time the classification is bumped up, the expectation is that more people might be using it. It's gonna need to have, you know, more, you want like safer and standards associated with that. If that helps, if that
So
helps.
basically, if an area grows, a lot of times these would have to be unpaved and changed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then just driving around the county, you can see the difference between like a state highway, like, 17M. They're typically wider, they have wider shoulders, designed really to carry heavier, traffic volume. And you have your county road classification system, and you have different roads, you get down to like a local street. It's gonna be narrower, narrower pavement width. So as that, and then you get, of course, if you go the other direction up to an interstate.
Right.
Limited access, designed to carry traffic over very long distances without interrupted flow. So, and so it is, as Sandra said, it's more than just changing the name of the classification. Once that occurs, then there's an expectation that the design standards will also match what that is classified.
And just to be clear, on that map, only number 5 was built after Parish Joel was established. All other roads were there for 100 or 150 years, long before. So we're talking about Forest Roads, Common Road, Acres Road, those are roads that are there for probably over 150 years. And as I said, portions of that same road is already classified and portions are missing. So we're trying to just make it complete.
John, could you bring up the flow chart? So I want to talk about the overall process just briefly and then just show you the form. And before I start that, we had started to mention, because these roads are under different maintenance jurisdictions and ownership, we're going to need the MPO staff will coordinate putting together the change request forms and the packets, and then we will bring them back to the planning committee and the policy board so you can review them. We also are going to need letters of consent from each municipality.
And you will definitely do it segment by segment. You're not doing it as a single package, correct?
We thought we could, but that's.
I think you can.
I was in the same.
Yeah, I think you could do it as
you
a
have.
single segment, but my
Yeah.
suggestion would be do them as individuals.
Yeah.
Maybe you want to combine some, I don't know, but I would look at it because that way the ones that are easy to get through don't hold up everything else.
Exactly. So there's some that is village owned streets, some that's county owned street, those should be separated. So we will do it in different segments, different applications.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, this is just a flow chart that NISDOT provided. It'll basically we'll get information to the applicable village, town, city, county. We'll put together the packages with them. They need a letter of local concurrence. Then it goes before planning and policy for recommendation for approval. After that point, it will go to the NISDOT regional office. They'll recommend it to their main office. Gets approved there, then it goes to FHWA. So it'll take a minute to do this, but that's the overall process. And then for each, there's a, I don't know if that's up here, the change request form. And And this is something that the MPO staff can help with unless the municipalities want to do it. I don't know if this has the form. It's basically asking for basic information on the road itself and then AADT as well as some information on heavy vehicle percentages. So. And then we're also gonna need the maps for each of them and general description. If we go on this second page, that this is where information, which a lot of this is available on the NISDOT traffic viewer. Hopefully. If there's counters in those locations. So that's a process. We'll start coordinating, we'll gather information to send out to the affected municipalities. County DPW is already looking at that, so this will be Graves Joel, Palm Tree, County, Village of South Fleming Road, Village of Woodbury, and Town of Monroe. That information on this.
And just to jump in, I just want to make the committee aware that there is a document where it looks at the geometric thresholds set out by NISDOT for the different classifications, comparing that to the geometric characteristics that are already in the field. And I also pulled some of the AADT data from the traffic viewer. So some of that might be available to you all.
Excellent, thank you, Dan.
You said earlier that you're gonna wanna have concurrence from the local municipalities, so let me explain. For example, Scanlon Road, which was on that map, 80% of Scanlon Road is in Curtis Joel, 20% is in the town of Monroe. The town of Monroe has a seat here at this committee. We will be submitting that package even before getting a concurrence. Getting a concurrence would be during the course of the process. What format do you see that? I mean, are they telling us that if 80% is in Curtis Joel, we can't even submit before town of Monroe signs a concurrence on the 20%? And by the way, did everybody concur to all the current classifications? There are classification 17. I believe that was done without anybody's concurrence based on the use of the road and the factors in the field. So what's this putting down like a prerequisite?
That's something that NISDOT requires, and I'm not sure whether there's a certain percentage. I think they're just looking for like a letter from a board or a resolution that they're fine with moving forward with the reclassification.
We're gonna be submitting and starting the process. We'll see how that goes.
But we can find out more details as well.
I would add one more, and this goes back to the operating procedures. And that was my comment there, that road reclassification should be mentioned here, and you had a reason why it's not. But I would still argue that under the function of the OCTC, there should be one bullet point saying road reclassification without any details. Because right now, anybody looking on this operating procedure has no idea that OCTC has a role in road reclassification. In fact, I started out the process with DOT, and DOT told me there is a role for OCTC, and I didn't even know that. I read this, neither did you. And that's the reason why it should be in the function. It's a function, should be a function. Listed as a function. That was my comment.
And that's something that, well, someone from Middletown shows up shortly, we can amend that.
Okay.
If everyone is in agreement, that would be a relatively easy enough amendment.
It's a matter of fact. It's not a policy issue. It's a matter of law that this is a function of OCTC.
We wrap up this minute or this meeting first, and then I'll ask everyone to stay 5 or 10 minutes until make one last appeal.
We move this meeting to the City Hall.
We won't drive over to the- It's a lot better than us driving back here.
We're ready.
Next meeting dates for reference, September 18th. Well, the meeting is canceled, but,
We don't know yet.
we don't know yet, so we're gonna like. Just put that on, pause for a moment.
And that may be in a, we were also having trouble booking a room, so it may be in a much different location from where we normally hold meetings, but
Yeah, I don't know if you
We'll
want
see
to
what
wait out long either to the doctor test, if you really got to think about, today doesn't work.
Warwick Town Hall is a beautiful venue.
Okay.
Nice and
Also
close
come
to
to
where I
use,
work.
Town Newburgh too.
Okay, well. Whoever comes up with the nicest space.
that's Zoom compatible.
Is compatible, yes.
Serve water, what else?
Um,
Open bar.
Here
we go.
Better step it up.
We're gonna cater with food.
Well,
Very
your
made.
was.
just other meeting dates, please mark your calendars and we will require an RSVP for Thursday, October 23rd, 1 to 3. Right here in Fire Training Center.
Only policy?
No, both.
Both, yeah. And no meeting in November. And then Thursday, December 4th, right here back at the Fire Training Center. Any other discussions, comments? If not, I ask for a motion to adjourn. I'll make the motion. Scott. Thank you all, and we'll make one last appeal there. Yeah, I see.